Hey, what's happening everyone? I hope you're all doing well. Thank you so much for joining me on today's video. In this video, I'm going to take you through a recent shoot that I did with MMA fighter Dominic. So recently, I've been shooting a lot of commercial work and it's all kind of been shot in a similar style, brands looking for that hero shot. So I needed to take on a personal project just to kind of free me from those shackles to allow me to do whatever I wanted to do and have a little bit of fun. I was scrolling through Instagram a couple of weeks ago and I came across this video of Israel Adesanya, who's the UFC middleweight superstar, heaping praise on a British guy called Dominic. So it turns out that Dominic is the bantamweight world champion in the Cage Warriors Association, which is like the biggest organisation in Europe, and it turns out that Dominic lives and trains here in London. So with that in mind, I sent Dominic a DM on Instagram, and to my surprise, he got back to me. And really, I just kind of asked him if I could go along to one of his training sessions and shoot stuff as he trains. And perhaps it could be the beginning of a bigger project. But we've shot the first day now, and in this video, I'm going to take you through the kit that I used, how I shot the images, and we can have a little breakdown of the images as well. Okay, so if you're new here, thank you so much for joining us. My name is Rich McKeever. I am a commercial and advertising photographer living and working here in London. And on this channel, I try and share a little bit of behind the scenes, practical gear reviews, and just give you a little glimpse into the life of a working professional photographer. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, make sure you like this video and subscribe to my channel. So as I briefly mentioned in the intro there, I find myself in a little bit of a habit. I have a Canon 50mm 1.2 lens, which since I got that probably 2 years ago, I've absolutely fallen in love with, and I tend to shoot everything on it. I think it's a great length for close portraits, maybe mid crops, as well as landscapes if you want to get a full length of someone. Really, that 50mm hadn't left my camera for quite some time. So with the shoot with Dominic coming up, I wanted to try and stay away from the 50mm. Although in the end I did shoot some stuff on the 50mm. For the majority of it, I stuck with the Sigma 24 art lens, as well as the old faithful, the Canon 70-200 2.8. So as well as packing the Sigma 24mm lens and the Canon 70-200 lens, I also packed my Hasselblad 500cm, which has a 80mm 2.8 lens on it, as well as a Canon 5D Mark IV, which was just there as a backup camera, and in the end I didn't use. And as always, I packed it in my Evoque rucksack. This thing has been with me for a decade. I've got a really old review of that bag up on my channel, which is linked down below. Going into shoot day, I was a little bit nervous. With our talent Dominic, we'd had a few interactions on Instagram over DMs, but you know, not much more than, hey, can I shoot some of your training sessions, and him saying yes. It didn't go much further beyond that. So yeah, you could say I was a little bit nervous about it, but I just made sure that, you know, I had all my kit prepped and packed the night before. The journey there was only 1 hour, but I left 2 hours to give myself plenty time to get there and get settled and get into the gym and, you know, just kind of settle my nerves before I got there. So I didn't really know exactly what I was getting myself into. I kind of approached this day as perhaps like a little bit of a recce day, an introduction to each other, and perhaps it could be a working relationship that we continue and continue to build a sort of great body of work, a great sort of story or narrative, something that kind of documents Dominic's journey through his career, and we'll see how far that goes. But as for now, let's head over to the gym and I'll show you guys some of the footage and some of the images that I got. So hopefully you guys enjoyed those images. I'm really pleased with how they turned out. The session turned out to be probably about 2 hours long. Turns out they were training wrestling that day. And for the first 45 minutes of the session, I kind of found myself a little bit lost. I'd never really shot wrestling before, so I was definitely thinking on the fly. And for that initial period, I was perhaps playing it a bit too safe. I guess as I settled in and got a bit more comfortable with it, I switched it up a little bit. I put the 70 to 200 on, and I started spotting that, you know, in wrestling there's so much tension between the two athletes as they grapple. You know, it is literally a power struggle. They're trying to throw each other around the ring. One is trying to dominate the other. In wrestling, there's a lot of different shapes, there's a lot of different positions, and that compositionally lends itself really well. And also you can zoom in on that and kind of get this entanglement of bodies and get that sort of real tension in the arms and sort of as they butt heads and things like that. So for the second half of the session, that's really kind of what I concentrated on, and I'm really pleased that that is something that I noticed, and I'm really pleased with how the images turned out, and I think they do tell that story. After the session is really when I got my first chance to have a proper conversation with Dominic. We chatted just about sort of like the sort of images that I'd shot, and he talked me through like a little bit of his training regime, what that looks like through the week. And although he had to run off and do his strength and conditioning session, we managed to grab sort of 5 to 10 minutes in the ring and just doing some shadow boxing. And this is where I got out the Hasselblad and shot some film. Compositionally, the Hasselblad shoots a square 6x6 format, so I often find that compositionally you have to pay a lot of attention to what you're doing with Hasselblad. But like I say, with this, I just wanted to let loose. If Dominic kind of weaved out to the edge of the shot, I wanted to just take that anyway and see how it looked. And I think they turned out really well. I'm really pleased with some of them, especially when Dominic's on the side of the frame. It really helps give a sense of movement, and that motion blur I don't mind much at all. So in conclusion, I'm pretty pleased with how these turned out. It was a little bit of a journey, like I say, starting in that safe place, not knowing how to photograph wrestling, and I feel like I kind of, within those 2 hours of sometimes panic, I kind of grew as a photographer and learned a thing, which kind of speaks a lot for shooting personal projects and putting yourself into situations that you're unsure of and just kind of taking a risk, because at the end of the day, what's the worst that could happen? If you're a photographer, you've got this fantastic tool which is a license to get you into places and situations that, you know, normally you'd never be able to get into. You know, an MMA gym at this level, there's no way I could just message them and say, can I come and watch your session? But if I DM one of the athletes and say, can I come and take some photos, and you know, you can have them for your social channels, then you're going to get into that situation. And that is what is great about photography. It's like a license to explore the world almost, without being too philosophical. But I digress anyway. I'm pleased with how the images turned out. Okay everyone, I hope you have enjoyed this video, this little breakdown. If you've got any questions about the technicalities or specifications or anything like that of how I shot this project, please just let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed the video and if you value the video, I've also recently started a Patreon. So there's 2 tiers in my Patreon. There's £3, which is just a general support of the channel. It allows me to continue to create content like this, and who knows, perhaps in the future it will allow me to afford a behind the scenes videographer and photographer to come along to help document and create even higher quality for this channel. The second tier is a portfolio review. Now I might do a video kind of breaking this down a bit more, but as I mentioned in the start, I have been a professional photographer for 10 years now. I've assisted photographers all around the world doing lighting, digi, as well as working in studios. I've really ground for the last 10 years, and then for the last 6 I've been a professional photographer, and I've been lucky enough to shoot with fantastic clients. So I do feel like I have a ton of experience that I can give to you guys and you know, help you progress your own photography career. So there is a portfolio review there. It's a 1 hour Zoom session. It's £115, I think. That can be a running mentorship if you wish. I won't divulge too much. I won't go into it too much. It's there if you want to explore. It's linked in the description down below. all support is welcome. Thanks so much, guys, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.